So in this first video of the Draw Every Ball series, we're going to start with setup, some of the things that you should look for there at P1, and we'll take the swing back to P2, which is shaft parallel with the ground, and just give you some of the checkpoints that you might want to look for if you wanted to draw every ball. Okay, so I've pulled the swing up here, and we're going to take a look at a few different checkpoints. I've pulled out some of the motion measurement as well, just for us to go through and explain how a lot of this is very, very relevant in terms of helping you to learn to draw the golf ball. So a couple of things at P1 that I want to draw your attention to. One of the most important things is presetting the hips forward so that you have some tilt in your shoulders, but doing it this way is very, very important. Notice how my pelvis is more forward than my shoulders. Okay, so what I've got there is I've created a tilt, it's a right tilt of 19 degrees if you look at the motion measurement number there, and I've created that by pushing my hips forwards, so I have a tilt to my shoulders. That's pretty important. It's one of the things that can really help you to learn to draw the golf ball. Additionally, there's a couple of other measurements up here. Having the hips turn and the shoulder turn less open would be one of the factors that could really help you to draw the ball more effectively. I don't do a great job here with my shoulders at P1. I've got them a little bit too far open, but my hip turn falls within the green category, which would be very much acceptable. My natural shot is a draw anyway, so I'm not too concerned, but if you were looking to really increase your chances of hitting a draw with the driver, having your shoulders and your hip turn less open at setup would be something to look for. Another useful piece of information at P1 in terms of learning to draw the golf ball would be understanding how you could place the golf ball just behind the center of the swing. So I've got that golf ball just back of the center, which will encourage me to still be hitting outwards towards the golf ball. The center of the swing is that left shoulder, so any ball placed behind the left shoulder will encourage more of an in-to-out swing path, which would help with trying to draw the golf ball. One final checkpoint at P1 that I'm a big advocate of is foot flare, turning your feet out. Notice how my feet are both turned outwards. It is a hugely important piece in helping you to be able to have the range of motion in terms of turning and what that turning can do in terms of helping you to draw the golf ball. So whilst it might seem like a less important piece in terms of how you place your feet, it has a massive impact on how much you can turn during the golf swing. So turn your feet out, not just your front foot, turn your back foot out as well. So now we're going to take the swing back to P2, which is shaft parallel to the ground. And as I do that, these numbers are going to change on the screen. So the ones that I've pulled out onto the screen are the ones that I'm really interested in. I'll go through them in turn because I think each one of them has a massive influence in terms of helping you to draw the golf ball. So we start with the shoulder tilt number there at P1. We know that the shoulders were tilted 19 degrees to the right, which is this angle right here. And when we get to P2, they're now 29 degrees tilted to the left. So that's this direction. So from 19 degrees to the right to 29 degrees to the left. That's effectively 50 degrees of shoulder tilt that I've moved in a very, very short space of the swing. So that's an important part of helping you to keep your inclination to the ground and help you to start to move your hands around you in an arc, which is what we're trying to do. On that subject of moving the hands around, you'll notice that the hand position marked here, as I move back to P2, my hands have not moved straight back towards the camera, they've moved upwards and inwards as they've traced the arc of the swing. That's important as well. Additionally, and similarly, the club head is also traced upwards and inwards on the backswing. These are all things that are going to encourage you to conform to the swing path or the swing arc, which will help you to swing more into out and ultimately help you to draw the golf ball. Moving on to the second motion measurement number there, which is 14 degrees open at setup with the shoulder turn. By the time I get to P2, where the shaft's parallel with the ground, my shoulders are now 60 degrees closed. So that's a 14 degree open to 60 degree closed. That's 74 degrees of shoulder turn in the first quarter of my backswing. From setup to shaft parallel, I've turned my shoulders 74 degrees. If you want to draw the golf ball, turning is a hugely important part of that. It gives you some depth to your swing. It's the ability to keep moving your club and hands around you on the arc. So the turning of the shoulders from P1 to P2 is a huge piece if you want to draw it, and it's a massive difference between P2 I see in expert players and the amount of shoulder turn I see in the poorest players. So learning to turn and tilt your shoulders simultaneously from P1 to P2 is a really important part of helping you to swing the hands around you and ultimately help you to hit the draw. Checkpoint number 3 on our screen between P1 and P2 is the hip sway. So the hip sway would be the motion of the hips either towards or away from the target between P1 and P2. Now I've drawn a little red line on the screen there, and what you'll notice is between P1 and P2, the trail hip actually starts to move away from that line. And the hip sway sensor is now measuring 3 inches of hip sway towards the target. A couple of little things on that quickly. The GOLFTEC sensor is placed at the base of your spine, sort of on the coccyx of your, the base of your back. And because of its location and because of the shape of our pelvis, as we turn, that point on the back of my trousers, the top of my trousers, that point would actually move towards the target anyway. So hip sway of 3 inches is not the golfer swaying towards the target 3 inches. It's really a function of them turning their hips effectively in the beginning of the swing. And as we continue that conversation about the pelvis and the hips, you'll notice that the hip turn number there at P2 is 34 degrees closed. So we've gone from having 2 degrees open at setup to 34 degrees closed at P2. So there's 36 degrees of hip turn. Therein lies some of the reason why I said to you about turning your feet out. The benefit of having your feet turned outwards at the setup is a big part of helping you to turn your hips and your shoulders effectively. A final observation and checkpoint for you at P2 would be the knee flex and the changing of the knee flex. So if I draw in there a marker on my left knee and also the flex that's built into my right knee, as I move the club back towards P2, you'll notice by the time I get there, the left knee has begun to flex and bend towards the target, towards the ground, sorry. And the right knee has begun to lose some of its flex or begin to straighten. That's a hugely important part, again, in terms of helping golfers to increase their turns. The turns help to increase the depth of the swing, which we'll get into in a later lesson as we move up the backswing. But that depth and that turn is necessary to help you draw the golf ball. So allowing your knees to change flex is something that's uniformly demonstrated by the game's best players. Not doing it is not only robbing you of potential power, it's also placing your body under unnecessary stress, because you then have to recruit more of the motion from, you overstress different parts of your body in order to complete what would be called a functional turn. So if you don't allow your lower body to move in the way that it was designed to, you're going to have to stress other parts of your body in order to achieve a functional backswing. So final point on P2 there is the knee flex, but it's a really important one. Make sure when you check your swing from down the line, you're noticing that your knees are changing flex to allow your hips and your shoulders to turn more degrees. Thanks for watching this first video in the Draw Every Ball series. I'll be back very soon with another video taking us from P2 halfway back to P3. Bit more backswing work, helping you to identify and check off the things you should be looking for if you want to draw every ball. Until then, thanks for watching. Please give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. If you don't already, please subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to seeing you again next time.